Hey there, fight fans, and welcome to the latest edition of Below the Belt Boxing. On tonight's card, how Mike Tyson became the subject of the #1 story in the USA.
Boxing, the biggest story by far did not take place in the ring. It took place in a courthouse in downtown Indianapolis.
Fans and opponents alike enthusiastically followed Tyson's trial because of his colorful and contentious boxing career, which was filled with titillating allegations of abuse and physical assault. Yet, later events would bring Tyson back into the spotlight. Tyson had already won and lost the heavyweight boxing title before the age of 25. He attended the Black Expo in Indianapolis in July 1991, perhaps preparing to challenge for a comeback. The Miss Black America pageant, one of the events on the calendar, featured Desiree Washington, the 18-year-old Miss Rhode Island, as a participant. Tyson invited Washington to stay in his hotel room because of his penchant for and occasionally problematic relationships with attractive young women. On July 19th at 2 a.m., she consented. Washington went to the police 3 days later. 6 months later, after a long and painful spat in the press, Tyson was facing a hefty prison sentence in court. The judge appointed to the trial was Patricia J. Gifford, one of the longest-serving judges in Indianapolis, and dealt with high-profile cases including murders, sexual assaults, and robberies. J. Gregory Garrison, the prosecutor, laid out a strong indictment against the defendant. He pointed at Tyson and said, "This man is guilty of pinning the 18-year-old girl to a bed and detaining her, despite her cries for help." While Tyson was a high school dropout, with little education, and without a way with words, Tyson's chief attorney, Vincent J. Fuller, would do what he could to dismiss the claims. When it came time for Miss Washington to testify, she spoke in a childlike accent and sprinkled her speech with words like yucky, despite the fact that her level of sophistication had unnerved the prosecution before the trial. She described receiving a message from Tyson at 1:36 a.m. Minutes later, believing herself to be en route to a party, she joined Tyson in his limousine. As soon as she entered the car, Tyson grabbed her. They headed to Tyson's hotel rather than the anticipated after-party. Tyson continued making moves inside his chamber. She then informed him that she was not like the girls he must be used to hanging out with, according to Washington. The alleged assault allegedly happened next, as Washington started crying and claimed that Tyson started laughing like it was a game or something, like it was funny. She grabbed her shoes and left the room quickly. As she approached Tyson's driver outside, he offered to take her back to her hotel, like it was a normal occurrence. Virginia Foster, the 44-year-old chauffeur, offered some support for Washington's account. Foster recalled that when Washington got back into the vehicle, she appeared to be in a state of shock because she was confused and befuddled. She seemed frightened. More than 24 hours after the incident, Dr. Thomas Richardson, an emergency department physician, examined Washington and found abrasions consent with assault. Once the defendant entered the stand, similarities made by the prosecution between Tyson's intimidating size and Washington's diminutive 98-pound physique became glaringly obvious. He began by stating that Washington had given its full support and approval for everything to happen. When Fuller asked Tyson if he had pushed himself on her, he responded, "No." Tyson recalled the encounter in vivid detail, but he refuted Garrison's assertions that he intentionally misled Washington. He insisted that she was aware of his intentions beforehand and had only become irritated when he refused to accompany her downstairs afterwards and remained in bed. The jury reached a guilty verdict after 10 hours of deliberation. Judge Gifford imposed a sentence of 10 years in jail, the last 4 of which were suspended. On March 26, 1992, Tyson would be eligible for parole in 1995 with time off for good behavior. In jury trials, attitude is frequently everything. Desiree Washington, according to Barbara Trathen, her deputy defense attorney, made a terrific victim on the witness stand by being submissive and almost adolescent. Tyson's untaught responses to the questions, however, came across as rude and haughty. Tyson applied to the Indianapolis Parole Board after learning on March 17, 1994, that the Supreme Court had declined to consider his appeal. A hearing was held on June 13, 1994, to go over the application. 3 witnesses testified that Tyson's attitude had changed while he was in prison, supporting the claim made by his attorneys that their client had experienced rehabilitation. Yet, all three admitted during cross-examination that they had never heard Tyson confess to raping Washington. When questioned on this matter, Tyson seemed curiously combative. He stated to the court, "I haven't engaged in any crime."
How have you adjusted to losing power?
I've never lost my power, you know what I mean? Because my power was always in me. My greatest asset is me. It's always me.
Judge Gifford, who oversaw Tyson's trial, was unimpressed with his approach. She highlighted that Tyson had not fulfilled the legal obligation to complete an educational or vocational course while incarcerated, which defense attorneys attribute to the frequent famous visitors who made it difficult for Tyson to focus, flaunting his celeb-like lifestyle. Judge Gifford was not ready to grant Tyson's bid for release without his acknowledging his inexcusable behavior. In March 1995, having served 3 years behind bars, Tyson was released with 4 years probation. Controversy continued to plague the disgraced fighter when, in April 1996, a young woman claimed he had sexually assaulted her in a Chicago nightclub. However, these allegations were later dismissed. If you would like to see more on the controversies of boxing, be sure to like and subscribe. Thank you for tuning in to Below the Belt Boxing, YouTube's newest boxing channel on the rise.